Welcome to the Beyond Divorce Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to this episode today of our podcast. I have Armando with us again.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Glad you're back.
Appreciate
it. It's awesome to have you back.
Love being here. Love doing it.
Well, I love doing it. And I would be honest with you, I've listened to a lot of the podcasts. It's really sad that I'm listening to my own podcast, but I listen to it because I go back and re-listen and learn things that y'all said. I'm literally in the middle of it learning. Then I go back and re-listen and I learn something else. And so, I haven't told everyone that. You're the first one who's told that too. But it is great to be here. And it's awesome to get to share this information with people and give them the opportunity to have information on how to navigate a very hard topic of a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many layers, man. So
Absolutely.
And so this episode today, Am I the Problem? I think is an awesome title. And it really kind of jumps in. It almost feels like a yes or no question though.
It is. And really, I was thinking about this topic after the last one we did, right? Where we're talking about heroes and villains and talking about how you can find yourself in that trap of being the villain. And am I the problem?
Right.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes. So that's
yes. And that's definitely yes or no.
But the idea is, how do I not be the problem, right? How do I not become part of the problem? How do I become part of the solution?
Right.
And that's really where, hopefully in this conversation, we get there in terms of how can I be a part of the solution and not continue to feed the problem and throw gasoline onto the fire of being the problem.
Well, to answer that question, how can I be part of the solution? Subscribe to the podcast to learn more about how to become the solution in most of the cases that we're talking about. So we can find us on Instagram and you can find us on Facebook. Instagram is Brighter Possibilities FC and Facebook at Brighter Possibilities Family Counseling. We are pretty much everywhere on all the podcast stations and YouTube now. Well, I think not live, but I guess I would say video so people can actually watch us talk about it, which I think it is exciting. It's fun. My kid thinks I'm a superhero now because I'm on YouTube. He was like my dad on YouTube and thinks it's the coolest thing ever. It's really kind of...
Does he say skibbity? Because then that doesn't mean he thinks you're...
Oh, no, he's not saying skibbity yet. So, yeah, I got to watch for that.
Well, listen for that.
Yeah, parents listen for that. Skibbity is a good thing.
No, it's not.
It is. It's not. Okay, let's clear it up right now.
My understanding, and mind you, I'm a little bit older now.
Understood.
So my understanding is that skibbity is bad.
Okay, if you hear skibbity, it's bad. If you come ask us what it means, we're not going to know either. We're going to look it up, which we have before. Haven't we looked up words in our session? We're only sitting there, let me find what that means, right? And we ask the kids, what does that mean? Just be curious. Anyway, okay, so no, he's not said skibbity.
Good.
So we're good.
We're good.
Okay, then we're good. All right, awesome. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. The first part of this is really acknowledging the hurt and stress that we have. Is that accurate?
That's, again, if we recognize where we are, then we recognize, are we part of the problem? Am I the problem?
So it starts answering the question.
Mm-hmm. It takes about being reflective and looking at yourself and doing your own work to look yourself in the mirror and say, wait, am I adding to this? Am I adding to the problem of not being able to collaborate with my co-parent or not being able to work with my own child or work with any kind of stress that's going on in my life?
Right.
And I think it goes back to when you have a divorce or you have a breakup or you've been hurt, right? I think back to moments in my life where, maybe I had a bad breakup or things, I had a relationship that didn't go the way I wanted to. There's a lot of hurt, right? There's a lot of questions of like, what do I do? And if you think about people that are getting divorced, they've been together for, 20, 18, 7, 10 years, right? They've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
With the intention of, this is going to be my life partner. This is going to be my person for forever. That ends. And now what?
Wow. Do you suppose that people are looking for, are they trying to figure out where the problem is? Is it me? Is it them? Is it us? Is it the kids? Is it the finances? Is it the sex? Is it, I don't know. Like, is that what people are doing?
Yeah, I think people are looking for someone to blame. They're looking for
someone or something.
Solve it both, either or, whatever I can find, right? Because when we blame, I don't have to take responsibility, right? It's not me.
Which goes back
to everybody else. Yeah, am I the problem, right? It's not me, it's you.
So are you under the impression that parents should ask themselves the question? Yes. Like, hey, if you're in divorce, you should be asking the question, am I?
Am I contributing to the problem?
Yeah, maybe not am I
the problem, but am I feeding the problem?
That's it. Am I feeding it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How would that help?
I think what it helps is you recognize where you fall into it. Because again, if I'm hurt,
mm-hmm.
if I'm fearful, if my life is about to change because I'm divorcing my partner, and I don't know what to do, that fear is a dangerous thing. It makes us dumb, right?
Yes.
It's any scary movie you've ever seen. When you hear a bump in the night, they're like, I'm going to go investigate. Don't go outside. It is raining and thundering, and you just heard on the radio there's a mass murderer. Don't go outside, right? But you get scared, so you make poor choices.
It's like when we watch these horror flicks where, like, we literally know, like, hey, don't go out.
Yeah, don't go out.
And they go,
let me go look, right? No, it's like, no, I'm not going to feed into that. But we do. And fear, I mean, think about it. We fear the unknown. We fear what we don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it becomes, what is our future going to be, right? I'm no longer with this partner. I'm no longer with this person. Who am I now?
Yeah, it's like the way I used to say to people is fear in most cases is a lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you might know that snakes bite, but you don't know how to handle a snake, so you're afraid of it.
You're scared of it.
Mm-hmm. But there's other people who pick them up like it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pick the snake up. They'll rustle an alligator.
And we forget to do the right thing.
Yeah.
When we're fearful, right? We know what we've been taught. We know what to do, but we forget to do the right thing.
What does it require then to be able to ask yourself a question like, am I contributing to the problem?
Vulnerability.
What do you mean?
You have to be vulnerable to look yourself in the mirror. You have to be vulnerable to look at yourself inside and say, wait, am I hurting? And you have to look at that hurt.
You have to look at your own pain.
You have to look at your own pain.
How do people do that?
It's hard. It's really.
Well, I know it's hard. I'm wondering how.
I think first there comes acceptance. Really accepting that this is the situation that I have, that my life is changing. My life has changed, because I mean we've seen it, where they've carried that hurt and that fear and that pain for years. They started when the child was 6 months old, and they're taking it. They're continuing to fight with the other co-parent until they're 17.
Well, you know what's sad though, is I don't think people realize that they actually develop patterns around that pain, and that becomes the way that it's almost as the system works.
Yes.
The system only works when pain is present. And so when we're all comfortable, it's not comfortable because there's no pain in it, right? It's like, wait, it's almost like with counseling. I've seen it with counseling. Like, as things begin to improve, people will self-sabotage to pull it back down.
Because it's familiar. It's what we know. And when we change, we work, it's hard. It hurts, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that something we should say? That's how you know when you're on track with defining whether or not that you're contributing to the problem, is saying this actually hurts to do this.
It's uncomfortable.
So that's what they need to know. Like the going vulnerable and being vulnerable is going to be uncomfortable.
It is. I always attribute it to when my clients come in and we talk about things, and I tell them, I'm going to bring your parents in, or I'm going to push you. We're going to go into things. I always attribute it, or I use the example of like working out, right? Like,
yes.
There's a vulnerability of like, hey, I'm unhappy with how I look. I'm unhappy with my health. So, and that is a hard pill to swallow sometimes, to be like, oh, I'm unhappy with this. And then you start working out and you're sore the first time. It hurts.
Yep.
And you don't want to do it. You don't want to be there. And you keep doing it. And every once in a while it gets better. But then you have that really hard workout and you're sore again. Counseling is like that. Good counseling, you're going to leave my office tired.
You know, it's interesting. You're talking about that. I'm thinking about when I worked in treatment centers. I remember, I actually sat in an AA meeting, not because I was AA, but they asked us to go to that as part of our counseling training. So we went to an AA meeting, and That's how people introduce themselves. They introduce themselves very vulnerable.
It is.
My name is, I am a,
and I have a problem. Right.
Yeah. They make them, they train them to state a statement about self that is vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And you suppose that that's on purpose so that they can actually go in themselves to do the work?
It's the acceptance. It's this is where I'm at. I accept that this is what's happening in front of me.
So should people accept that in divorce, you are contributing to the problem, whether you're aware of it or not?
Yes.
That's what they should do.
I think that's what it is. And I think that's where, once you have that acceptance and you kind of look at that hurt and that fear in the face,
Mm-hmm.
you know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get tripped up in those patterns. Because
Yes.
when we have those hurts and those patterns, we fall into things. Right?
Yes.
Typically people, they, what I call like kind of the hurt, trauma, stress compass, they fall into kind of different categories that they do.
Wow.
So in my office, I usually will draw it on my whiteboard, and on one axis, I'll have hurt others, right? So if I'm hurting
Yes.
and I have pain, I don't like this, so I'm going to externalize it. I'm going to put it on other people.
You draw it like a cross, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like this.
It literally looks like this. It's a cross, right?
Yeah.
And so on the, what is this, vertical, right?
There's a Y and an X axis, I guess.
Well, I'm going to do, well, I don't know. I was vertical and horizontal. Like,
Yeah. Let's go this way and this way.
I'm in third grade math. Okay. High school math. I'm in fifth grade math. Okay.
Okay.
But
No,
But on this axis, right, the up and down,
yes, the up and down.
axis, we have to hurt others,
Right.
where we take it out on other people, and we see that every day, right? We are prickly people that I talked about last time.
Yeah,
they get angry, they get hurt. I'm going to take it out on other people.
Yep.
Right.
That's one manifestation.
That's one manifestation of that.
Got it. What are the others?
And then on the other side, it's the other manifestation is hurt self, harm self.
So we have hurt others on one part of the top, maybe. Let's say the top is hurt others. The bottom will be hurt self.
And that's where we run into people who talk bad about themselves, or they question themselves. Like, who am I supposed to be now that I'm not with my partner? Am I not good enough?
So you're saying people might go one of two areas when they're divorcing. One might be, I'm going to punish them, right, for what they did to me. And the other one's, I'm going to punish myself because I'm, I failed this marriage.
I'm not good enough. What am I? I'm never going to be good enough. And it ends up.
No one will ever love me.
No one will ever love me.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, and to the extreme where we end up with self-harm and some suicidal ideation. Because what is my worth now?
Wow. So we end up on one of those spectrums.
We can. Yeah, absolutely. If people are not careful. And those are patterns that we see because that hurt.
Yeah. What's this one?
So that one we have kind of the avoid, where we kind of avoid.
Oh, it's the behavior.
It's a behavioral of what we do, right? So we avoid.
Either avoid.
We avoid. So like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm gonna avoid. And then on the other one, you have run away, where you literally isolate. You ignore.
So it's not the same as avoid.
It's not the same as avoid. Avoid is instead of physically running away. Like, running away is physically leaving, right? I'm leaving the state. I'm becoming a new person. I broke up. I'm out. I'm out. Like, this is,
Yeah.
New year, new me kind of thing. I'm out.
New me.
And now I'm living in Colorado and living my best life. And you do those things, right?
Yeah. Reset button.
You said it. And we see that, right? We see that with people that get divorced and they're like, you know what? I'm going to move away. I'm going to start over. And I have this whole brand new life and it's completely different. They run away and started a new life.
Run away.
The other one is avoid, where you're not necessarily physically running away, but you're avoiding, you're numbing with other things. That's where we run into some, substance use issues. Wow. We can run into all sorts of other unhealthy coping skills to avoid.
What a great way to describe avoidance and what that might look like. And usually, I always tell people it's really hard to solve an internal problem with an external solution.
It is. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the problems we're dealing with are internal. But we look for external solutions. So it's probably look in relationships. We go to drinking, we drug, maybe we're over-sexualized, but we're looking for an external factor
to make us feel better.
To make us feel better, which is coming from within us.
It's from that hurt and that pain. And so,
wow.
And so recognizing where you fall into that.
Yeah.
And we all do that. And it doesn't have to be extreme cases of like when you're in divorce, but just when you get angry with your spouse, how do you respond? When you get angry with your kids, when you get angry on the person you're driving to work and you're going to record a podcast and you're late and you messed up your coffee order, right? How did you respond?
Are you the problem?
I wasn't today. I wasn't.
And at some level,
I recognized, but that goes into, how do we recognize that? We recognize, okay, I'm starting to feel a certain type of way, right? I'm feeling a little angry.
It starts with the emotion.
It starts with the emotion. How am I feeling? Recognizing, you know, and or now I feel this way. Let me walk it back down,
Yep.
and let me respond in a
Yep.
healthier way than going off on this barista who, you know, is overwhelmed.
The poor barista, they're just out there trying to
You're
get your
just
name
trying to
wrong on the cup. And
Oh no, they know my name there.
funny. Dr. Robinson said something on a different podcast where he was talking about how our emotions are like check engine lights.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really designed. Your emotions are really designed just to kind of let you know where you are, right? It's like, this is where you are right now. And if you know how to navigate them, you typically use them to facilitate some really cool movement. And I think with Am I the Problem, the name of this podcast, really saying, am I contributing to the problem? And I think the answer is yes, at some level. But it's really kind of getting into navigating that. And you've talked about, it starts with an emotion. It's going to start with how you feel about it, right? You have to acknowledge that emotion, that hurt, that stress, whatever you might be feeling. Go ahead.
And going back to that, really acknowledging it and being okay with it, right? That's part of the healing, is that you have to learn to be okay with that. I think we've had this conversation before where you were telling me where you were working with someone and they said, I'm not over the divorce yet. I'm not ready.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
That is honest. That's the hurt of accepting this is where I'm at. Because you're over here at point C, I'm still at point A.
Yeah, what's really cool about doing work like that, when you have the parties, and I'll say the A and the B person in the room, and one of them's like way checked out, moved on, one's still holding on. When that vulnerability kicks in and that person says, look, I'm still not over them yet, it's so cool because you get to shift and go, now I know exactly where I can be helpful. And I remember turning to the one party that's ready to move on, and I said, would it be a problem if I just focused my attention here for right now based on where we are? I said, unless there's any possibility that this could be reunified. If there is, I'd like to at least have a stab at it, right? Or take a stab at it. And maybe not be the best word to use there, but you get the idea. Take a stab at it, right? It's how many times, Steve. But you get the idea, like, I'd like to attempt to, if there's anything still left in the tank. And this person was like, nope, nothing's left. I mean, it's done. It's a done deal. Signed, still delivered. And the other person just wasn't there yet. And so I knew I needed to focus on helping peace happen in that person, because the fear was that person doesn't recognize their own stuff. What's going to eventually happen? They're going to project it out.
They're going to project it. They're going to bring it into the collaborative or non-collaborative.
Absolutely.
Communications that they're going to have with this other person.
And I agree. I think the strength was in the vulnerability there, wasn't it? And
it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of strength to recognize, okay, I'm not okay. I need help. And I think back to a lot of parents that I've worked with, and one of the biggest things they've asked, they're like, well, what can I do? And it's, well, your child wants to make sure that you're okay. So if you're okay and you recognize that you've done your work, that will help the child.
So let me ask this, is vulnerability courageous, or does it take courage to be vulnerable?
Both, I think.
Vulnerability is
courageous, and it also takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. Because I've always told people it's like, well, I don't need help, and I'm like, well, then you're not courageous. It takes so much strength to ask for help. The hardest thing, and I can say it for myself, the hardest thing sometimes is asking for help. And when you're in the middle of a contentious divorce, or just a divorce in general, or breaking up in a relationship, or any kind of struggle, it's hard sometimes to ask, because what am I supposed to do? And if you're a parent and you're trying to be that pillar for your family, for your children, and you're falling apart, you don't want to do that to them. So the more you can work on yourself and make sure you're okay, that'll help your children be okay.
So how do we heal?
I'm a counselor, so I lean towards therapy a little bit. I think therapy is helpful.
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy. I think that helps. But I think it's also knowing yourself and recognizing what patterns am I seeing myself doing. So talking about those patterns of, am I lashing out more? Okay, I need to kind of put the brakes on that. Am I? I catch myself drinking a little bit more than I should be. Right.
So we should be our own referees.
That's the goal, right? If we could all just be our own referees, the world would just be a better place.
Wow. It's almost like, and it's so interesting now that, when you said that, that's what clicked in my mind, was we can be our own referees. But at the same time, I think about how the world really projects so much out toward others that we referee everyone else, right? So we kind of expect that. But at the same time, no one actually lives what you're living.
No one will know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
But it's easier though, Mike. It's easier to judge someone else. It's easier to look to other people. It goes back to we're looking for blame. It's not me. It's easier to blame and put it on someone else because then I have to look at myself.
let me ask this then, as a therapist, how many times have you had someone come in, use blame, and it solved the problem?
Never.
You've never had someone come in and use blame as part of the scenario, a part of the solution building, and saying it's so-and-so's fault, it's because of them. And as a result of that blame, you were able to achieve a solution.
Not blame, accountability, but that's different than blaming. And accountability is I'm taking accountability, right? It's that
you take your part.
I take my.
I don't have to take all of it.
I don't have to take all of it, but I'm taking my part, and I recognize what I'm seeing. And that other person who is putting the blame, right? It's not the blame; it's the other person doing the work. Because I can give it to you, you still have to choose whether to take it or not.
So now the title becomes "Am I the Solution?"
That's the goal.
Yeah, I think that's where the healing is, right? So to be the solution and not the problem, you have to heal.
You have to heal. You have to be healed. You have to work at your healing.
Right. What should the listeners know, or what feedback can we give them on starting the process of healing? I know you said come to therapy, but
that's the easy answer. That's not even the easy.
Well, what's that easy one? It's a great start though. It's a great starting point for someone. When you don't know what to do, you seek help. Right? I don't know how to change my oil in my car. To be honest with you, I probably should have learned it when I was a kid, but I don't know how to do it. So what do? I take it to get an oil range. Yeah. I don't know how to help myself if I have a heart issue, whatever else in my body. So what do? Go to the doctor. And the doctor says, you got this issue. It's like we hire the people to help us through. We all need it. Everybody needs the help. That's why we have doctors and physicians, and we have dentists, and because they help you do the thing you can't do, but you need.
Absolutely.
Right. So therapists are here to help you with those things that are hard to navigate. 100%.
No,
we're navigators.
No, we are. We help navigate. We help. Yeah.
Correct. We may not solve, we can navigate, and you might walk out with a solution before we do. But I think
that's a goal, actually.
It always really is, isn't it? If someone told me, hey, Michael, you didn't really help me solve this, but you helped me find a way to solve it.
Then my job.
High five.
I did it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I take it.
Awesome.
So what are some other things they can do absent therapy, or maybe things we do in therapy that they can do now to start that healing process?
I think really going back to recognizing what my emotions are telling me, right? What is that check engine light?
I'll write this down.
What is that check engine light letting me know to check?
Okay.
And I think recognizing, not to sound like the pseudo psychology, pop psychology, but triggers, right? Like that, there's a reason that word is kind of around, but the triggers, the things that are, grinding your gears, what are those things that are kind of getting at you, and recognizing where is that coming from?
Why?
Because I feel like so many times when there's not when our values don't match with what we're doing or what we think we should be doing, that's where we get caught up on, right? The judgment of, well, see, they're always late, and it really bothers me because I like to be punctual, but when I'm late, it really kind of bothers me. So recognizing where is that really coming from?
So, okay, I think I know what you're saying, but let me make sure the listeners understand this. You're saying when you're triggered, what's really happening is one of the values that's built in yourself is being not valued.
Yeah.
So if you value being on time and you find that every time the other person is late, it bothers
you, right?
Crap out of you.
It's more of a you problem.
It's showing what you value, right? I must value being on time. Yeah. What's hard for me though is there's so much hypocrisy where people want something from someone else, but they also do it.
Oh, that's human nature of life, I think. I think that comes back.
But part of the healing is knowing that people will create the problem that they don't want for themselves. Do you want others you want done on you?
Yeah, it does, but it's that acceptance. There is a level of acceptance that this is kind of how it is.
This is how it is.
This is how it is.
Take your part of it.
Take your part in it and say, okay, given that this is my situation, how do I move forward from it?
Got it. So I have, what are your emotions telling you? That's one. Number two, where's this coming from? Find those triggers and understand that those triggers are actually values.
Those values.
Yeah, those are values within yourself that you have to learn. I must value this, or this must be important to me at some level. I like that. What else would you encourage them to do as part of the healing process?
I think the other thing I would say is, and this is hard, is forgiveness. Forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for others. It takes courage to forgive.
It's funny because I have, all the podcasts we've done up to this point, I think I've heard forgiveness in almost half of them, or somewhere close. I couldn't say specific. If someone's actually counting, they're probably going to go back and count. I don't know, but it's been up a lot. It's come up a lot.
Mhm.
And I guess when a person is unwilling to forgive, so let me ask you, when a person's unwilling to forgive, what is that?
I mean, I think
Like, I'm talking about myself. If I'm unwilling to forgive within myself, because others, I can't control their control myself. When I'm unwilling to forgive, what is that telling me?
I think you're not ready to, you're still living in the hurt. You're still stuck in the hurt, right? Again, it's that hurt and that fear. We know what the right thing is to do. The right thing is to forgive. The right thing is to move on. But because I'm still stuck in that hurt and that fear, I'm not doing the right thing.
You know, I'm wondering, when we ask parents, when we get that sense that things can't move, if we were to ask them a question like, have you forgiven the other person for whatever you think they've done wrong? Whether they acknowledge it's wrong or not, have you forgiven them?
I've asked I've asked those questions before.
What are you getting?
It varies depending on where they are on their own journey of things.
Maybe that's
It really does. I mean, I've had it where they really have said, you know what, they gave me my child, and I'm grateful for that. But their life, the way they grew up, this is what's to be expected of them. That's okay.
Yep.
Others, it's like, no, it's not.
So is there anything else you would add to that list after forgiveness?
I think forgiveness is, I think that's a pretty good list. I don't know. What do you think that there's anything on there that?
You know, I think everyone's in their own journey, but I think the substance of that journey is all the same. I think, and so I believe that these are substance. And let me say it this way. I'm going to read 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is give the opposite and show something kind of fun.
Go for it.
So when it says, am I the solution? So we have the title, Am I the Problem? Am I the solution? Yes, when you do this. When you say, what are the emotions telling me? And you listen to that, check engine lights, right? Where is this coming from? Finding those triggers and realizing those are your values. If it triggers you, you value something in that at some point, because it's moving you. It's what bothers you. And then the last one is forgiveness. When you're doing that, you can say, I am the solution, rather than am I the problem? I am the solution. If you want to be the problem, or if you're wondering if you are the problem, you're not doing any of those three.
No, you're blaming.
Okay, that's right. So instead of noticing what your emotions are telling you, you're blaming.
You're blaming.
What else are you doing?
You're, I guess, if you're not, I can think very, I mean,
I would say projecting.
Oh, projecting, because it's not, I'm not looking at myself.
I mean, it's them. They're whatever. You might play a role. You might be the person. We talked about the trauma triangle, how you might play roles. So there's blaming, there's projection, right? I think.
Oh, and instead of forgiveness, there's resentment. Right? And resentment is that poison, that it's that cancer that just radiates and destroys everything.
If you have someone and you said, I get the sense that you resent this, your co-parent here. I get the sense you resent them. And they say, yes, I do. What would be your next question?
When that has happened, I've asked them, I said, you have that resentment. How's that working for you? I mean,
that's a great question.
I mean, honestly, it's like, how is that serving you? How is that helping you? Because the answer is it's not.
Yeah.
It's just, is that making them change? Is that, do they care?
Well, if they're projecting, they want something to change.
They want it out there, right? No. And again, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they made the comment like, if I drink, it's like drinking the poison, hoping that the other person will die.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And that's what resentment is.
Resentment is drinking poison, hoping the other person will die.
And that's not how it works. Forgiveness is really, I always tell people, forgiveness is really more about for us than it is for the other person.
Forgiveness is offered to the other person to give you permission to move forward. Forgiveness is what you offer someone else so that you have permission to move forward. I don't, even if someone says, oh, well, I've let it go, that's different than I forgave. I think
so too. And I think when I have people come in and say, well, I can't forgive you, I was like, okay, can you accept?
I can't take credit for this. I know we need to finish this up. I think we need to wrap up. We're getting close. But someone told me, real close friend of mine, you actually know him, Jorge. I kind of want to cry and think about this. I've never heard someone say this to me before like this. It was so powerful when he said it. I said something to him. I said, I showed someone grace. And he asked me he walked me through like what I did. And I told him, and he goes, no. That wasn't grace, man. That's mercy. And I said, I don't know what you mean. So I'm gonna get in this deeper in the forgiveness piece. This is what I'm talking about. He said, grace is step one to forgiveness. Grace is like saying, that's water under the bridge. We'll just let it go. And we may never talk to each other again. Right? Matter of fact, we probably don't even have a need or want to talk to each other, but we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing me, you're doing you, we're good. That's grace. Okay, that's giving someone grace. Just letting it be. Let them be, let you be. That's giving someone grace. Okay? That's only stage one of forgiveness. He said, mercy is different. And I said, what makes mercy different? He said, mercy is giving something to someone they don't deserve.
Oh, they don't deserve that. And I love that.
Yeah. And I said, well, can you give an example? I'm going to give you a good one. He said, did you deserve to be forgiven for your sin? And I said, no, I don't deserve that. Do you deserve heaven? No, I don't deserve heaven. But you get it. You get heaven because someone died for you. That's mercy. Jesus didn't deserve to die for us, but he did. So that you can have what he wanted for you. That's mercy. Mercy is giving something to you you do not deserve. So you may not deserve me to be kind to you, co-parent. You may not deserve me to be flexible with you. You may not deserve. I'm going to continue. Because it's what's right.
It's what's right.
I said this to Chanan. I said, what if a co-parent became what the other parent shouldn't be?
Oh.
I said, and Chanan gave me the idea, Coach, as we talk through things, we think through things. And I said, but what if you said, the way I'm going to manage how I do this divorce is I'm going to be what you should have been to me. I'm not going to tell you to be that to me. I'm just going to become that for you. That's probably mercy.
Oh, that's mercy, right? But again, that goes back to that's what's right. If I'm in my fear, if I'm in my hurt, I don't do what's right. I forget what's right. And I'm not part of the solution. I am the problem.
And fears, like you said earlier, I think it's that lack of knowledge. It's that unawareness. And so becoming aware of what you're afraid of, becoming aware of what that pain is, allowing yourself to go. Dr. Robinson talked about the grief cycle in one of his podcasts, and allowing yourself to work through it. Because guess what the last stage of the grief cycle is?
Acceptance.
It's acceptance.
It's acceptance.
Which is you got to get to a place of acceptance of where you are so you can learn to navigate through it. Right? And all the grief cycle is just the heaviness of all the emotions, right?
It is.
The angst, the denial, the shock, the anger, the depression, whatever. It's just the heavy. And so I'm going to do this one more time. I think we can wrap this up. Unless there's anything I missed, Armando.
No, I think that's everything, if not more.
A little extra on there. So I'm going to go over both sides here. When you are the solution, or you're playing the solution, you're navigating what your emotions are telling you. You're trying to find where it comes from. You're seeing what those triggers are and understanding that those are related to your values. And you're allowing yourself forgiveness, right? To offer and to give. And forgiveness has layers, right? Starts with grace, ends with mercy. Okay. When you are the problem, so the topic, am I the problem? You are blaming, you're projecting, and you're resenting.
You're resentful.
Absolutely. It's almost like you're aiming at hurting. I'm hurt. I'm going to hurt you. Hurt others, maybe.
I've hurt others. I'm projecting. I'm giving it back.
Right. And I may hurt myself even in resentment, right?
And it does typically.
There you go. You can hurt yourself too. Yeah. I've seen it. So that's a way to navigate those two things. What did I get about?
I think that's right. I think if our listeners really look at themselves and say, where am I falling into these categories, right? These three things on one end and three things on the other end.
And this is what they could mean.
That helps you kind of on your journey to figure out.
I love that we're offering the listeners a way to navigate their stuff. Like I can't tell you necessarily how to get there, but I can give you ways to find a way to get there. It's almost like I can provide the boat, but I can't paddle it.
Right.
Right. I can provide the car, but I can't push the gas.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things. I love that. So for you listeners, thank you so much for being here. If you're catching us on YouTube, I really love that you're watching it. I actually enjoy watching it. But I will just say, however you find us, thank you for doing that. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. What were the other one? I keep forgetting the other one.
I think we're on Amazon also.
Are we really?
Yeah.
We're on Amazon?
We are.
Bro, whoa. I didn't even know that.
We're on Amazon.
Nice. We're on Amazon. Oh,
I mean, I listen to us on Apple Podcasts, but
I do too. I do Apple. I like Apple. But anyway, yeah, we listen to our own stuff. We sound like nerds.
I listen to everybody else.
You don't listen to yours?
I don't like to listen to myself.
I don't mind. Not against the butt. Well, this has been great, Armando. You can also find us on Instagram at Brighter Possibilities FC. Find us on Facebook at Brighter Possibilities Family Counseling. Our website is brighterpossibilitiesfc.com. And come find Armando. He's there doing his thing. Our classes are actually about to close up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so for the step-parent group. But if you're still interested, please look. We will post more classes if it's already closed by the time you get to this podcast. But just know that we do offer that. We would love to see you, love to have you, and help you out. Any positive things, please let everyone know. If it's something we can do better, come let us know. And also, I said on a different podcast, I think it's really cool. We're going to start having people pose some questions that they want us to go over. So that if they come in or they do a little screenshot, they can actually send in a question. And our goal is to try to answer specific things to help as much as we can.
Awesome.
Obviously, we can't provide therapy services through the podcast, but we can definitely offer some guidance on just some things to consider.
I love that.
So, I love it too. Love it too. Thanks for being here, everyone. And go have a great rest of your day. Keep moving forward.